Welcome to the YouTube channel for Advocates for Medically Fragile Kids, North Carolina. We are beginning a regular series of news and advocacy updates and calls to action to support caregivers and advocates for medically complex kids. Today, we're going to highlight an urgent call to action in North Carolina, and I'd like to introduce Jenny Hobbs, the Advocates for Medically Fragile Kids co-founder, our resident policy expert and parent, who is going to get us up to speed on this important Medicaid update. So, Jenny, what do you have for us?
Yeah, thanks, Tanya. Hi, thanks for being here. This is really important information. Forgive the iPad and all of that that we'll be using. We just wanted to be able to get this information to you as quickly as possible because it is not a foregone conclusion that this is going to be what happens. But if we don't do anything about it, it is what's going to happen. So you may have seen a letter from Secretary Sangvi that went out a week or so ago, and then there's been some meetings where they talk about there's a 3% statewide provider cut, and then some services will actually be 8% instead of 3, and another set of services will be 10% instead of 3. We're not going to really get into the details of that today because we anticipate the fee schedules coming out soon. And so rather than speculate, we would rather bring you accurate information regarding that. So stay tuned. But what I wanted to do today, what we wanted to do is just explain the concept of how Medicaid programming is funded. So it is partially funded by the federal government and partially funded by the state. So we are going to say that this circle is the entire Medicaid budget for North Carolina. So as I said, there's a contribution from federal and state. And so if we divide our circle up into thirds, North Carolina puts in 1/3 and the federal government puts in 2/3. So we're going to visualize that for a second. So federal is going to be green. And forgive my bad drawing. No one ever said I was a good artist. And then we're going to do orange for the state. Okay, so for the next fiscal year, if we were fully funded, this is roughly what our chart would look like. So the green represents federal of 2/3, and then the orange is the state at 1/3. I have the numbers here at the bottom, so I'm going to read them to you. So the state is contributing 5.47 billion, and the federal government is contributing 16.41 billion. So see, we got those numbers there. So that's how we get to a fully funded budget. Unfortunately, what has happened is the General Assembly has passed a mini budget, so they have not passed a full budget, but the mini budget is what would take effect if nothing else happens. And what the mini budget has done is underfund the orange state contribution by $319 million. So we're going to take our eraser and we are going to lose a piece of pie out of our circle here. But since we just talked about the federal government through CMS contributing $2 for every $1 that we put in, then we're going to also see chunks taken out of the federal side too. Oops, I erased part of my circle. There we go. All right, so the chunk on the bottom here is where the state decided to underfund. And then this is our missing contributions from the federal side. So this is a lot. And that 3% provider cut and the other cuts that have been proposed is to make up for just this. Nothing else. And there's been some talk about how the federal government is going to be having cuts come down as well. So the only reason we're going to see a decrease in federal funding is because the General Assembly had a decrease in funding. The cuts from the federal side aren't going to take place until the beginning of 2027. And there is no world where I understand how making cuts now will prepare us for more cuts in the future. Like that just doesn't make sense because we're depriving our state of $1 billion essentially. 319 million from the federal or from the state side would result in 640-ish billion from the federal side. So when you add those together, we're just under $1 billion. And when you're talking about an overall budget for Medicaid programming, it's only at about $23 billion. So if we're cutting $1 billion out of that 23, it's going to more directly impact providers than we can anticipate right now. And the sad part of that is we may see providers no longer accepting Medicaid patients. We're going to see nurses and CNAs and other personal caregivers not willing to work for low rates because we've cut everything. So what can be done about it? Because I don't want to be the bearer of all bad news. Like I said earlier, this is set to go in effect October 1st of this year. So in like 5-ish weeks, maybe even less than that. And our General Assembly, our state representatives and our state senators can still fully fund Medicaid and have all of these cuts restored. They need to be convinced to do so and that their constituents want to do that. So we'll have a link in the comment section as well as in the description that will take you to a place where you can, in a matter of seconds, send an email to your representatives. It will find your representatives when you put in your address. It has a pre-planned letter that you can customize. But if you don't have time to do that, the letter is already written for you. All you have to do is click submit. So really you can do it in as little as 30 seconds probably. So I'll let Dania and Alexandra ask any other questions or follow up.
Well, I think one major point that I would just like to underscore is that we keep seeing in the media 319 million being cut from Medicaid in North Carolina, and that number is disingenuous, and we need to include the federal match in that number to really understand the full impact of what this is going to look like for us as a state. And the fact that that is being left out, sometimes it's ignorance, sometimes it's by design, but if people don't know that it's $1 billion, then, we can't advocate for or against what we don't understand and don't know. So please push that number as much as you can and get that number out there and steer folks towards the advocacy tools that we can provide.
And definitely to make it clear, because this is still a lot of questions that are circling, this has nothing to do with the federal cuts that are still coming down the pipeline. That's coming into effect at the end of 2026, so it'll take in effect the beginning of 2027. This is over and above that. That's still coming. And as Jenny mentioned, that there's still time. We can still get our state senators and representatives to fully fund Medicaid. This is the mini budget. So please advocate and get that number out there. As Dania said, it is disingenuous. Get the accurate number out there. This is going to affect our children. It's going to affect our families. So make sure that you click on the link in the description or in the comment. The top comment will be the link. As Jenny mentioned, it'll take you a few seconds. Everything is done for you. You can go ahead and customize it. Do it as many times as you want. Do it every single day. It doesn't matter. You don't need to just do it once. You can do it multiple times a day. Share to anyone and everyone that you know. Get them to do the same. And when you are done, comment in the comment section, done. This will be a show of solidarity and that we're standing together. Make sure that you also subscribe to our channel and comment any comments that you want to make. Please feel free to. And the reason to subscribe is because we're going to be posting a lot of updates. So you want to be notified when there's breaking news, when there's news, there's updates. And there's going to be a lot more that we're going to be posting that you are going to benefit from and enjoy. We're going to have a little bit of fun too.
Thanks so much, guys. We look forward to interacting with you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.